Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cucina Aurora Kitchen Witchery podcast. It's another amazing episode of Conversational Witchcraft. Today we have the fantastic, wonderful, amazing Adam Sartwell. Okay, if you don't know who Adam is, let me tell you a little bit about him. He works as a certified consulting hypnotist with certification by NGH and ICB CH, which I'm sure he's going to tell us all about that. And he's a professional tarot reader. He is also, oh my goodness, one of the 3 co-founders of the Temple of Witchcraft. He is an award-winning author of the 21 Days of Reiki and the Blessing Cord, and the super nicest guy. Okay. Can we just say he's the super nicest guy? Adam, welcome, welcome to the amazing podcast. I heart you so big. I was like, I do. I heart you so big. I was so kind of like timid about asking you to come on the podcast because you have this sort of quiet calm about you. And I thought that I might be a little too much and this might be a little too much energy for you. And I was like, oh, like for like a week, I just had this feeling. I was like, I don't know why. Spirit is like, you got to talk to Adam. You got to talk to Adam. You got to talk to Adam. And like my brain was going, I don't think he'd be interested in it. I don't think he would like it. I'm not sure he would do it until finally I was like texting him like, so would you please come on my podcast? It's also weird when it's like your friends because you don't want your friends to feel obligated to do this thing, you know? So thanks for coming on and thanks for being here. I saw you would like your smile just brightened my whole day.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so interesting. I did Voices of the Temple's podcast for so long that no one ever asks me to come on podcasts. So you're like the first one that I think I can remember where I was actually asked to come on to a podcast.
To be interviewed.
Everyone wants Christopher, my partner. So, and that's cool.
I mean, but, I get that, but still, like, you're kind of a big deal, you know, like you are kind of a big deal. And I think that's probably hard, right? Because Christopher is the outward personality. He's kind of like the face of the temple. But the truth is, like, you're just doing just as much work. The work you're doing is just as important. And you're like in the background going, yeah, I'm cool. I don't need to be in that spotlight. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're like, I'm over here just doing my thing, but you're kind of a big deal, dude. Like, I don't know. You're founder of the temple. Like, there's only 3 of you. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
there is only 3
in the whole world. There's only 3 of you that are the founders, and there's millions of people that follow your traditions. And, you know, I mean, I myself being part of that community, like, and I think that's it too. Like, it's a little intimidating to ask someone who's as big of a deal as you are to be like, would you please come on my podcast and talk about witchcraft? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So I'm very,
maybe that's why I don't get asked that much.
I mean, it's like, you know, the prettiest girl in school never gets asked out because she's too pretty. Maybe that's it, Adam. Maybe you're just too pretty.
Just too pretty.
You're just too, you do have that smile though. You do have that smile. I can't help it. And your laugh is the best laugh in the world. Just, we're going to make Adam laugh at some point during this so that everybody can hear his amazing laugh. It's infectious. So thanks for being here. As we are recording this, it is almost Samhain. Right? Yes. Now, I don't know when this is going to air. It's probably going to air in December. So, but right now it's almost Samhain. Do you have anything planned for the holiday?
Well, we are actually taking time out on the actual day of Samhain to go visit with some of like Christopher's adopted sister and her family. And we're having a big dinner and all of that. And right now we are doing the Great Pumpkin Project here at the temple, where
that's awesome.
We invite people to bring a carved pumpkin to the temple and put it on our front garden wall. to face out. And then we take pictures of them, and we the founders pick which ones win, and they get bragging rights for a year.
That's awesome. So how's that going so far? I mean, I did see some pictures that there's a couple, the great Robbie dropped off a bunch, right?
Yes, Robbie dropped like 4.
She's an overachiever. Okay. If anyone has listened to the episode where we interviewed Robbie Packard of the Robin's Nest, she's an overachiever. She's going to do 4, right? Because that's Robbie.
Yeah. Well, she was thinking that she was only going to do like 1 or maybe 2, but then she talked to me about that, and I was like, oh, really? Okay. And suddenly there were 4.
You pressured her into doing more pumpkins. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's fabulous. Because you could see her sitting there carving them, going, son of a bitch. I'm carving the fucking pumpkins.
But we got to see her and talk for a little bit when she brought the pumpkins by, which was great. But still, the whole wall is not filled with pumpkins yet, so that's our goal. I
don't want to promise. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be honest. I want to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't have that kind of energy.
Yeah, I felt like so my mom follows me on Facebook, so when I was posting all these pictures of the pumpkins and whatever, and I was telling her about the whole experience and whatever, and she's like, I don't know why you chose the ones you did. I think the one that should have won was the witch flying over the moon. Little known to my mother, that's the one I carved. And so it can't win because I'm one of the founders.
Aw, that's adorable.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
That's adorable. So Adam, you and I are friends, so I know kind of like your story, but not everybody knows, like, how did you become one of the founders? Like, what was that conversation like in terms of, deciding to be, a living, breathing partner in the creation of the temple? What was that conversation like? And how did you get to that point? Working backwards.
Yeah. So I know that we, gosh, this is way back when we weren't living in the temple, all of that stuff. So it really takes me back. I remember a conversation where we were sitting around the table and Christopher was talking about, his Witchcraft 5 students always looking for something from him to be like, give them direction, give them purpose, give them ways that they could minister. And he was like, yeah, it's on you. You've got to go out and you've got to decide what it is you want to give and what you want to do out in the world, and hoping that they were going to give back and all of that. And I was like, we don't really give them any structure to work with.
Right.
And, that's really important because it's not like we can, at that time we were like getting our ordainedness through the Life Light Church or something like that.
Right.
Universal, whatever. Right. And I was like, we need to, services are needed by our community. What is, what way can our people, get into an order of magical people, and really, in a very powerful and respectful way. And so I feel like, so I have this thing that like, I feel like sometimes I'm a muse.
Yeah.
So Christopher ran with that idea and was like, yeah, we'll do that. And then we went into the whole process of getting our 501c3 from the government and being recognized by New Hampshire here in the state. And it was a long process.
Yeah.
And then, we wanted the temple to have land. People could come and learn classes and all of that. And it grew from there. I now live in the temple.
That's amazing.
and we are working towards building a community center.
It's unbelievable. The work that you guys have done, you know, and it's really interesting to hear that, because isn't everything born out of need, right? You don't just go, oh, let's do this thing unless you see a need in the world for it. And you're sitting there going, you know, people that are reading Christopher's books are looking for more of a structure, more of a you know, even if it's not a real space, but a community space or an energetic space to be within this you know, energetic temple, because before you had the space, it's really the temple's where you are, right? It's, you take it with you, it's wherever you are. And for you to just be like, well, let's build this thing, you know, you have that spark of an idea, and it does take a fucking village to make something like that happen, right? So I mean, Adam, go ahead.
I was going to say that we three founders are, you know, very blessed to have a lot of really good people working with us.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You couldn't do it without help, you know, and the right people come and the right people go, right? There are some people that come in and they're there forever. And then there's some people that come in to do a job and then they go and they move or they shift, you know, because it's still like the structure of it, even though it is a religious organization, there's a business element to it. So you have to have it running, you know, efficiently, right? Which you can't do without the right people. It's so interesting. So interesting to me how you guys have, you know, built this community and built this organization. Fucking fascinating. And if you haven't seen the temple grounds, if you live in New Hampshire, you've probably driven by a million times. I drive by it literally every day and I honk my horn, beep, beep. And I usually text Christopher. I'm like, beep, beep, I love you. And he's like, I didn't hear you. I'm at the gym. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks. But so Adam, tell us your journey from, like, were you into witchcraft before you met Christopher and Steve? And if so, how did you find that path? Like, what was it that influenced you into this path?
So my story, like, I had friends who were sort of interested in different things, and I started having psychic experiences and not knowing if I was going crazy or whatever. A lot of so my friends and I were very bonded in the way that they were psychic a little bit too. So when we would bounce off of each other, and so I had a lot of experiences of, like, remember when we had actual, like, phones that were connected to things. This
like
was
a
back
landline.
In that area.
It had
like a landline,
right? And it had
a
buttons
landline
or a rotary phone.
I would, I grew up with, like, rotary, and then we switched over.
Yes.
So,
did you have the phone that had the really long cord? Because there's only one.
oh yeah.
Okay. Everyone
With the
back.
thing that goes, and
back
you
in
get
the
it, like,
ancient
wrapped around.
times, in the before times, where
Yes,
there was
in the
only
before
one,
the everything
there was only
times.
one phone in the kitchen, and it would have a
Yes.
very long cord. And if you wanted to talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend, you had to take that cord. In my house, you had to take the receiver with the cord and stretch it as long as you could and go down the basement stairs and then close the door behind you, because it was the only way that you had any privacy. The before times.
The before times.
And
So
the before times.
I would call my friends and they would be calling me at the exact same time, so we would both get a busy signal. And you know, I would have moments where I would just say whatever they were thinking, like, out loud, and it was super annoying to basically everyone.
Like, get out of my head.
Having all these weird experiences and dreams that would come true to some extent, and be like, oh wow, like, I'm super deja vu because I dreamed this like a week ago. And so I started having some really crazy nightmares that would make me bolt upright in bed, of a red blur hitting me and me just floating up out of my body.
Wow.
and watching the whole thing. And as it became a reoccurring dream, I would have it maybe once a month. And the more I had it, the more details I'd have. Like I knew that whatever it was going to happen on the day before I turned 16. That I was, it was a red blur. I knew I was walking. I knew I was also like in a crosswalk. I could see the white lines. And it got clearer and clearer to me. And so I was like, well, this seems really, some of my dreams have come true. So I started researching and looking into different religions. I knew this psychic thing was somewhat real, at least to me. And I needed to know what the heck happened after you die. Because if this is true and this is going to happen, I need to know what's next.
Wow.
And
So you
so,
were
like,
convinced, a 15-year-old boy, and you're convinced I'm going to die the day before my 16th birthday. I'm going to get hit by a
yeah,
car and I'm going to die.
I didn't bother. I didn't bother. Who cares, right? And you know, like I had prepared myself like a person who is going to commit suicide. Of like, all right, well, you know, here's a little will, you know, for who gets my
Oh my
what. Yeah, like
goodness.
that's what I went through.
Wow.
And I thankfully I opened up enough to tell my friends who were into psychic stuff. Because
Wow.
the day before my 16th birthday, I was walking home with my friend Jenny, and I stepped out into the road on the crosswalk, and she grabbed the back of my shirt, pulled me off the road. A red car sped across the road, and the
Oh
person stopped
my God.
like 30, 40 feet away from us, like parked, got out of her car. She's like, oh my God, I didn't even see you. I could have killed you. Oh my God, you know, kind of thing. And then after that, I was like, well, now what the do I do? Now I have to actually live. I have to learn how to drive. I gotta
Oh
all of
my
that. And so
God.
the in my research that dealt with the way I thought death happened and the way that um the way you could have psychic abilities was witchcraft.
Right.
And so I basically got into witchcraft from that. I was like, yeah, all right. I know the psychic thing is real. I know witchcraft is real because I started doing spells and things would happen. You know, like yeah. And my friends were thankfully very interested in it in high school. And so, yeah. But I'm the only one who went on to be a founder of a tradition.
But holy crap. I mean, and again, like you think about that, like as a child, I mean, you're 15 years old, you're a child, you
Mhm.
know, and to have an experience like that so deeply solidifies this affirming, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, this psychic shit is real. Okay. And it doesn't manifest like that for everyone, but to have that kind of a,
Mhm.
you know, that kind of a vision and I would guess that after that happened, the dream stopped, right?
No, it doesn't.
That particular dream.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't have any more of the like not that particular dream, but I still dream of the future. It's not the day that my father passed. I woke up, I had a dream that they had changed the breathing mask, and I know nothing. I know now, but then I didn't know anything about medical stuff. And they changed, and all they did was they changed the mask, and he passed. And so I woke up, of course, and my family is sort of like all the time with me, because
Like,
God, you know, like
what the fuck?
wait, what? It was
What?
so I woke up and I was like, oh, you know, I had a dream. They changed his mask and he died. To
Right.
my family, and they're all like,
Okay, sure. Adam's
okay,
got a dream again.
yeah.
Right.
And by the end of the day, they changed from one breathing apparatus to the next, and that's when he passed.
Wow. So now
So
when you have dreams like
yeah,
this, obviously you're able
I tell
to,
people.
yeah. And you're able to
Yeah.
interpret them. They don't sound like they're, I mean, listen, I have fucking weird dreams. I have like night terrors. I'm 100% sure they don't mean anything except anxiety about my mother. That's really, those are my dreams. Okay.
Yeah.
But
well, I still get the symbolic dreams as well, but I find that the psychic ones usually have some sort of like real details.
Right. And they're solid.
They're solid. I come out of it going, I can feel this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can tell the difference in dreams, and I've had this conversation a couple of times. Like I would never claim to have psychic. I think we all have a little bit of psychic ability, but I would never say I'm psychic. And I would never say I'm a medium ever. I don't work in that space at all.
Mm-hmm.
But even as someone who doesn't identify as that, like I can tell the difference between having a dream about my father or having a visitation from him.
Yeah.
It
does
like
feel different.
If he comes to me in a visitation dream, I'm going to use that in quotes. It's solid, right? If I hug him in that dream, I can feel him. I can smell sawdust and leather, the smells that I associate with him. I can, it's solid. It's very, very solid. Whereas if I'm just having a dream that my father happens to be in, it feels like a dream. It's very, very different. So are you able to, obviously at this point, you're able to discern that solidness from what's just a dream, right?
I feel like there are moments where I do get information from a symbolic dream, but I wake up and I'm like curious about what did that mean? Like I wake up and I'm like, wait, what? So like once I had a dream that I was writing a check, back in the day. No,
because in the before times we had paper checks.
I was writing a check and then I realized I opened up my checking account and I'm like, oh, I only have 10 cents in there. I really need to put some money or whatever. And so like I woke up and I was like, that's a weird dream. Like that's pretty weird for me because I like fly, I talk to animals, I do all that weird stuff at night. And so I'm like, that's a weird dream. And I literally checked because a couple of things had gone through all at once. I had 10 cents in the bank account. I was like, crap, I gotta move some money. Like,
wow.
So it can be that weird and practical, but it's still a little bit symbolic.
So you obviously, this is the, you're obviously a very talented psychic. And I know you do readings. Right. I know you do. Yeah. I know you do readings. I know you do tarot. I know you do, hypnosis. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I want to save that. That's like the grand finale of our conversation is like what you're working on now. Like I want everybody to learn how fucking awesome you are and then tell them all the fun things you're doing now. So do you ever in your, and this is going to be totally selfish. Okay. In your workings, do you do dream interpretations for other people? Because you mentioned in your dreams, you fly, you talk to animals, all that kind of things. I have flying dreams all the time, all the time. And I can remember flying dreams from being a child and how it felt to be flying. Right. And I just figure I'm fascinated with flight. I love being on airplanes. I love flying. But I hate heights. I don't like being like up on a ladder, right? But I love being on an airplane. It's very fucking weird. So if I came to you as a client, and I said, what does it mean that I'm flying in all of my dreams? Would you interpret? Do you do any of that sort of stuff in your readings or no? Also, what does flying mean?
Oh. No, I mean, I feel like one of my tenets is that people have to be able to sort of interpret their own dreams in that and take back that empowerment. But I do think that it is helpful to tell someone your dream because sometimes they will see it in a different way than you have. And if you get that aha moment, that like, yes, that's real. That's like, it's so palpable. Like once you get an interpretation that fits, it's like, oh, that makes complete sense.
Right. Light bulb.
Light bulbs and, you know, fireworks, whatever it is. But you also get the opposite one of like when people tell you, oh, well, your dream means, and you're like, nuh-uh. No, it doesn't.
No. So like if I was dreaming, which I've had dreams about, like Chris Evans turning into a golden retriever so that he could come live with me. Guessing that's just, it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't. Yeah. Chris Evans. Chris Evans. But in my dream, he turned into he was flying through the air in his Captain America outfit. And then when he landed, he was a golden retriever with a cape. And then I could take him home and he could be my pet. So I guess, I mean, let's not interpret that for.
We'll interpret a little bit of the flying then.
See, and again, it's all the flying. It's all the flying. No, but that is, I see what you're saying about like taking ownership of that, because that interpretation, you flying in your dreams and me flying in my dreams, could mean something completely different. Because am I wrong when I say that these dreams and these visions and things like that, that's spirit speaking to you? So what spirit wants to say to you is very different than what spirit wants to say to me, unless we are having the exact same experience, which we're not.
And some symbols that you're going to have are going to be your own personal symbols. So like when spirit is trying to give you a message, they're going to rifle through your Philodex of all of the images and symbols that you have ever used and understand. And they're going to take those and create a dream with that.
Right.
And so when your dream maker gives you a dream, it is all of your symbols, your connections to things. So like for me, light means confidence, because you can fly away, you can do anything, you can get as high as you want, you can see the world from a different view. And for me, it also has a feeling of joy that's connected to that. It's that joy of being free and confident and knowing that at any moment I can, you know, flap my arms or look like Superman and just fly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So you're saying that the symbolism of flight for you in a dream, spirit is saying to you, you know, it's using that symbol because that's how your brain associates it. And for me, it might be about freedom. And because when I'm flying in my dreams, I feel free. I feel carefree, right? Not necessarily confident, but free of burden, free of stress, free of anything that might be holding me down emotionally. I feel free. So if we're looking at the same symbol, we're reading it completely differently, right? That's so interesting. That's so, I love that your witchcraft journey started with this sort of like psychic dreaming, you know, and that you were able to interpret it at such a young age is, it's mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing.
So one of the things I always like to say to people about their dreams is also asking, your dream is something about your life at the moment. Like it's not something about the past, not about the future, whatever. It's usually around the moment, unless it's a psychic dream, right?
Right.
But then you have to ask yourself, what is this dream asking me to do? And so like, if you're having flying dreams, you might desire that carefree freedom. And you need to go do something that comes to your mind of what is carefree freedom to me. Maybe it is like, all right, guys, I'm taking an extra long break today. I'm going to Starbucks. I'm having a, you know, chai outside and you know, watching the people or whatever. You know, that's my,
I mean, listen, anytime
I'm away from the temple.
Anytime you want to go to Starbucks. Anytime you want to go to Starbucks.
Right on. You call me. Call me. Or text me.
I will bring that fucking Starbucks to your house. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what Adam is saying is Me flying means more coffee. I need more. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, I think that's right. Because what you're saying is these psychic moments or these spirit messages coming through dreams need to be
psychic.
They need to be actionable, right?
And honored.
It need to be actionable and honored. So, and I think this is a really good point. And oftentimes we're talking about any type of witchcraft or meditation or psychic works or anything like that. Oftentimes it's, oh, you'll have the vision, or oh, you'll have the dream, or oh, you do, but it needs to be honored and honored through action to take effect, right? You're not just, everybody says, oh, if you have dreams or psychic visions or something, you should journal it. Great, journal it, write it down. Then what? You have to interpret it and apply that lesson to your life, which usually equals action. Am I right? Okay, I'm going to ask you to
giving you the action of non-action.
Can you go back and say that again, because your internet is cutting in and out a little bit.
Okay. Unless it's giving you the action of non-action.
Unless it's giving you the action of non-action.
Telling you to stop. Yeah. But
I feel like you're talking directly to me.
You should be taking some steps.
I feel like this has gone from an interview to like,
dreams,
Dawn, you're doing too much. You need to take a break.
This isn't a session.
No, this is not a session. This is not a session.
No,
but
it's not a session.
But I think that that's really important, and that in your workings, this is how you are serving the community, right? Through your works, in opening up people's eyes and teaching people about things like this and bringing this unique perspective into the temple. Like, we've never had a conversation like this before. So like, I'm even more impressed. Like I said, you're kind of a big fucking deal. Wow. Okay. So we need to take a little itty bitty break so that we can hear from our amazing sponsors. And we will be right back with the obviously amazing Adam. And we don't actually take a break. I just have to say we take a break unless you need to pee or something. And then you can go do that if you need to.
Good.
You're good. So your internet is just, so before we come back,
spotty.
It's spotty.
Yeah, you've been freezing too. So
yeah, you're freezing. I'm not freezing on my end, but you are freezing on your end. So, or on my end. So I don't know if it's me or if it's you. But if I ask you to repeat something,
I will.
Yeah, because my producer will be like, he'll be like, you need to redo this. And I'm like, I can't duplicate the magic, buddy. I can't duplicate the magic. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We are back on Conversational Witchcraft with the incredible Adam Sartwell. This conversation has really made me think, and I love that so much. So Adam and I have been talking about dreams and psychic visions and spirit talking to us through dreams. And so now, Adam, so we've learned all about your kind of beginnings as a witch, and that you are one of the founders of the Temple of Witchcraft, which of course is incredible. So in your own right now, on your own, you are doing something incredibly unique, which is hypnosis. And you're kind of melding this intuitive psychic stuff readings with hypnosis, which I don't think I've heard of anyone doing ever. How in the world did you decide to go into hypnosis, and tell us about that journey?
Well, it's a little bit of response of like, I've written 2 books. I've done, the, pagan author thing, kind of stuff. But my sort of want is to help people and to get them to that next level, whatever that looks like for them, but to do it compassionately. So I was like, all right, well, no, rarely did people come to me for like a healing work or whenever they would go to Christopher or whatever. So I was like, I need something completely different that he doesn't do
Yeah,
that
something unique
I
to
want.
you.
Yeah, something unique to me. And so like I went through, like I have a bachelor's in psychology. And when I got out of that, I was like, I want to become a hypnotist and, like see what that's like and whatever. And my mom like shut me down. She does that really well. She knows
Moms
where
are
the
great
buttons
for
are.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
So I got a little shut down by that and I was like, all right, fine, I won't do it now. But when I, was like, all right, I'm turning 40. It's time to do things that I wanted to do
Yes.
and haven't done yet.
Yes.
So I was like, I want to learn how to be a hypnotist. So I, contacted my friend in California from Healing Path Hypnosis, Brenda Titus, and I was like, I want to be a hypnotist. Like, how do I get there? And she suggested my teacher in hypnosis, Dan Candell, the anxiety relief guy. And he's very all about doing that. And he's very
Really?
famous for that and for doing shows and things like that. Um, and so I went about becoming a hypnotist. It was a kind of a real weird and rough ride. The day I, paid for it and got ready for it, my car got hit in our parking lot. And I was like, is that a sign? Because, like, it doesn't feel like a sign. It just feels like I've like moved through to a next level or something like that. And
Yeah.
I'm breaking through.
Not everything is a sign. Sometimes
Not
shit just
everything is a sign.
happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Sometimes
shit
crap
just
just
happens.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I also put that with like, law of attraction stuff too. Like stuff just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is not our fault at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's not, or like sometimes the thing that happens might be a manifestation. It might be a law of attraction. That might be your manifesting. That fear is manifesting. Your car gets hit and you go, well, fuck you, fear. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that sucks. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to do this hypnosis thing anyway, because you're not going to stop me,
Yeah. So I then, got to the dates that I was going to do it, and everyone else in the class didn't want to do it anymore and stepped back. So it was just me and the trainer.
That's awesome.
And I was like, this is a total, Adam Sartwell manifestation right now. Because I was like, it's so nice to, have one-on-one attention and, all of that. But I was like, yeah, I'd really love to, do it with, more people. So he, is a trainer in 2 different systems. So I got trained in the National Guild of Hypnotists way of doing things. And then later on, I went to Las Vegas and got trained in ICBCH, which don't ask me what it is because I cannot remember it to save my soul.
I was like, Adam's going to tell us all about what that is.
Yeah, you've put in those letters that it comes up, but it has something to do with it. I love it. But the great part about it is like the National Guild has been there forever, for a really long time. It has a lot of history and it has some of the older methods of doing hypnosis, which I think are amazing. But then ICBCH is all about the new stuff and modern techniques and rapid hypnosis and all of that. So I've gotten both of those. And my my trainer, so it's funny, you're getting trained in this and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do what you said. And I start doing it and he's like, oh my God, have you done this before? I'm like, well, no, but I've been leading meditations for
10 years, 15 years.
So I've been leading meditations for a really long time. It's like, yeah, you've got this down. You've got your particular cadence and voice already. And
your voice is really good when you do meditation. I've participated in that. And it's like totally different voice. Like talking to you now, it's like, oh, that's Adam, blah, blah, blah. But then the minute you switch on your meditation voice, it's like, oh, you just feel like you take this deep breath and it's like someone is rocking you like sleeping on a cruise ship where you're just back and forth and yes, I can see that 100%. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then after that, I had to, sort of set myself up. And I did a sort of bisected thing of like, I'm still doing readings and things like that on my website of adamsartwell.com and, like online and all of that. And it has my witchy events and all of that. But then I was like, well, if I'm working with the public as a hypnotist, I'm like, I don't know if I should, present myself. And so I sort of, like was like, all right, I'm gonna try doing, my business as intuitive hypnosis at hypnointuitive.com. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna set this all up. And so like I've sort of got that. For a while there, I was like bisecting. Like I've got my witch life, I've got my hypnotist life, never the two shall meet, right? And now I'm like,
fuck it.
Screw that.
Screw that.
If people don't want to work with me, don't work
right
with me. There are other hypnotists,
right,
and Buddhists and Muslims and everything.
Right.
You don't have to work with the witch.
Right.
But
right. And I think that's a really good point, as you're saying, that sort of straddling the magical community and, for lack of a better term, the muggle community, right? And I find myself in that position very often because I make this olive oil that you can buy in Whole Foods, but then I'm teaching kitchen witchery classes, and my books are all about witchcraft and cooking and kitchen witchery. And to try to not dilute yourself and not hide who you are, but at the same time remain accessible to everyone, because it's important that the work that you do, especially as a hypnotist, is accessible to people who aren't necessarily in the pagan community. Right. And then you might get a little backlash from the pagan community being like, well, you've got this other life over here. I get that all the time. Right. Like, oh, maybe I'm not witchy enough. Maybe I'm not pagan enough.
You know what? The best part of it for me is that, like, if they're like, give me that flack, I'll be like, well, that's my day job.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, yeah, my day job, I can't be out like that, that kind of thing. And that sort of like
quells.
Then they reframes it for them so that they get it.
Yeah.
But I present it honestly. I'm a very authentic person.
Right. You are who you are, and you're doing the work that you do. And the work that you do is so important because of all these pieces of you being a witch, being a hypnotist, being, having psychic abilities, all that. It's not just one or the other. And you're not going to turn a part of yourself off depending on the client that you're seeing, right? You're not going to be like, oh, this person is super Christian, so I have to pretend I don't have psychic abilities.
Yeah.
Because that's going to interfere with the helping and the treatment that you're giving them through this hypnosis session. I am very interested. I did not know that you had a BA in psychology. That's fucking outstanding. And now that you say it, I completely understand so much more about you and your journey, and that idea of helping people. And I'm interested to know how that background in psychology influences the hypnosis and the psychic work that you do. And, as someone who's a huge proponent of therapy, I've been in therapy forever. I love therapy. I encourage everyone to do therapy at all times. I feel like therapy is something that is for healthy people, right? Who want to be healthier. So I'm totally a proponent of that. Do you find often, so first I want to know about how that background intermingles with your hypnosis and your psychic work. And then a follow-up to that question being, when you go to therapy, it's lifelong, right? It's not, I'm going to have 2 therapy sessions. Oh, I had a fight with my mom. I'm going to go to therapy twice and I'm going to be all better and all my issues are going to go away. Therapy, I say, is like an onion. Every time you get to something, you peel back another layer and it all stinks. Okay. So in the work that you're doing now with hypnosis, is it something that is a continual journey like therapy is? Do you bring in some of that, background in psychology? Talk to us about that, because I find it very interesting.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's a lot.
Well,
I'm sorry.
when I did get a bachelor's in psychology, I was like, all right, well, I don't want to really go on to get my master's and then become a therapist and all
Sure.
of that, even though I'm wearing my therapist sweater.
You're totally wearing your therapist sweater, but it looks very cozy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cozy.
So cozy.
Um, so I didn't at that time. I was like, I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm. It's just too much.
Yeah.
And I went into the helping field. It took me a while to get there, but
Yeah.
I got to work with kids that um, had severe traumas and mental health issues and things like that. And I worked with them for many, many years,
Yeah.
more than people normally do without going and getting their masters and things like that. So I
Yeah.
worked as like, you know, I would go to school with them and, help them learn and all of that. I also did, after I got burned out with that, I switched to special needs um, and
Yeah.
helping with kids like that. So that calming voice that I use is the voice that I use on them
Yeah.
that makes them feel calmer and ready
Yeah.
to, like that. So I've had a lot of that stuff
Yeah.
um, to like experiences, but physically I can't do it anymore because I would have to do restraints when things went crazy and got too up, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So
There's a limit that any human being can do that kind of work, with
yeah,
before losing their own minds. Like
yeah,
you
I
yeah.
would come home and after school and then was like, okay,
Yeah.
and
You're
I was
completely
out.
fried. Yeah.
Like I was so exhausted and fried. And when things shifted and I just became, professional witch and professional, hypnotist, that all shifted, which is great. And I draw upon a little bit of that when I'm working with my clients of, like I've had a lot of experiences and I honestly, have a broader view of what is, like what I can accept of like, all right, yeah, you bite your nails all the time and you want to stop doing that, we can work on that, all of that. The hypnotist community does like sort of step back from the therapy part of like using
Mm,
hypnotherapy now because people were beginning to think of it as like therapy of licensed, psychologists. And some
yeah.
hypnotists are that.
Yeah.
So you can look for that. But a lot of hypnotists will say, like there are people who get clients who they do hypnosis sessions with them and they get to the point where they feel even better about themselves and may not need years of therapy to get through one
Yeah.
issue, but may need 6 months to get them back on their feet. you
Yeah.
know so it really, it has that therapy power
Yeah.
without actually being, you know I would like to think of it as, like a holistic health help
Absolutely.
for people. And it really can bring about those aha moments of like, oh, that's why I do that.
Yeah. And there's so much misconception about hypnosis. I think
Yes.
the misconceptions are like, oh, I'm gonna, have one session with Adam and he's gonna, brainwash me to, never eat chocolate again. And then I'll be
Yeah.
skinny. And it's one and done, and that's it. Um, is that a true misconception? And what's the actual truth of the process?
Yeah. The actual truth is it can take as long as it takes. Um,
Mm,
like for me, most of my sessions are 4 sessions with me. And so in each of those sessions, we'll do hypnosis. We'll talk about different techniques to work with. But you have to want it. I can't, hypnosis isn't mind control.
mm,
It's mind suggestion. It's
mm.
mind influence. it doesn't really, you won't do anything that isn't for your own benefit. Or, if I could do that, then we would have had the temple built already, because I would have
Right.
mind washed everyone to go and give me their money. Like,
Right. Exactly.
like,
Exactly. We would have just
right?
mind washed everyone to go get vaccinated and everything would be
Yes,
fine. Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
I would have, like, there are many things that I would have solved the world,
Right.
problems
Right.
by mind washing people, but it's not a mind wash. It's a um suggestion to a part of our mind, thoughts, all of our patterns. You know, sorry, my internet is saying it's like having bad
Yeah.
connection.
It's like
Um,
blah, blah, blah. So the last thing we heard was it's a suggestion.
yeah, it's suggestion. It's not. Um, yes, sometimes it'll be that forceful, like you will, you know, quit smoking and you won't be doing this anymore and you will feel much better that you did, that sort of thing. But even that is a suggestion. When someone
Right.
commands you, that is a suggestion. It's not
Right.
like you don't actually have to do it.
Right.
Does that
It's
make sense?
almost like getting into that sort of
So,
like subconscious and saying, if you really want this subconscious, and I think that's kind
mhm,
of like meditation, right? Being able to kind of
yeah,
calm certain parts of your brain so that the other parts of your brain can open up and you can listen to them and those parts of your brain can interact and be like, oh yeah, no, maybe I
mhm,
do really want to quit smoking, or maybe I don't because it fulfills this need in
yeah.
me, right? So how do you blend the hypnotism with the intuitive psychic work?
So for me, I use my intuition daily. I trust it pretty strongly. So there is a bit of me using my own intuition, being like, I feel like this certain program is going to be better than say this one. And it is getting a feel for people.
Mm.
And I also I have a whole course that I've put together that I'm still adding to it, um, called Awakening the Dream Seer. So we get back into that dream stuff of like, I'm trying to also help people get to their own abilities, and maybe even just talking with those parts of themselves, which is a do on your own course on my hypnosis website. Um, but I mean, there are parts of, I mean, hypnotists would love to be like, oh, it's, science and da, 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 but it's the science of the mind. So it's got a little squiggly to it,
Yeah,
like, um, it's like being psychic is part of your mind, whether people believe it or not.
absolutely.
Um, we all have intuition. We all have some sort of connection to that, whether it's strong or weak, um, and it is something you can build. Um, right now, I haven't had too many clients that were like, "Oh, make me your psychic," you know. I haven't had too many clients that do that, but I do have more people who just want to make a change in their lives. They want to, and part of me used intuitive hypnosis because I'm intuitive,
Right.
you know. So
Right.
it's
So
like,
somebody walks in and says,
yeah,
I want to
I get a lot
be,
of misconceptions.
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of misconceptions. And I'm sure that there's a lot of you going, like, if I walked in and I was like, oh, I need to be less stressed out, and you'd be
Mhm,
like, what does that mean? Let's
yeah.
unpack that a little bit. And really, the vibe that you're getting is, okay, well, intuitively, I can tell that you need to be less stressed out. But what you really mean is, I'm suffering from anxiety. So I'm going to
Yeah.
treat you for this, not for the thing
Mhm.
you think we're going to do. Right. So,
Yeah.
because you're intuitive, you're reading the situation. Right.
Mhm.
I think that brings something, a weight and a gravity to the work that you're doing that people couldn't find elsewhere. And I also think, getting back to what you said before about hypnotists being like, oh, we love to say that it's, therapy. Um, but I firmly believe that this is, like you said, it's a holistic wellness practice, right? So this is a supplement to enhance the work, right? If you're working on, getting your shit together and you're working on dealing with your own garbage, this is another tool that you can put in your pocket, and getting that hypnosis and working through the process in a relaxed state of being with a practitioner like you. Just there's no downside. Like there's just no downside to that kind of working, and the fact that that's what you're doing, Adam, like in amongst all of your other responsibilities as a founder, as a writer, as all these things, that the path that you've chosen, oftentimes people are like, this is my message and I need to share it with people. And you're like, my message is you need to help yourself. And I'm here to facilitate your wellness. I think it's very unique in the community. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. And you're the right soul and the right heart to do that kind of work. Like 100%. So you're doing now, you can book sessions with you at adamsartwell.com, right?
Yeah. For intuitive readings or flower essences.
Oh, we didn't even talk about flower essences. Oh my goodness. We didn't even talk about flower essences. Tell us very quickly about your flower essences.
So I have from the temple gathered different flower essences, and they're all from the temple.
From the grounds.
From a temple ground.
Wow.
And I basically will listen to what's going on with you at the time, and then I use dowsing, which is like pulling out a pendulum, and I go through and douse for which ones are for you. And the flower essences, they all have their own particular vibration, and they have a sort of like I'll give you a little bottle, and it'll have all of your essences, the ones that are picked for you through dowsing. And I'll give you an explanation of what each one of them does. And then you take it until the bottle is gone, and you like 3 drops under the tongue and all of this. And it really works on that spiritual, emotional, mental level instead of that physical level. But you can still heal physical things with it, because when you heal on different levels, sometimes it shifts that other level. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know people are always like, oh, my tarot cards, really brought it to me, and they really, like eviscerated me or whatever. That doesn't happen for me that much with the tarot cards, but with my flower essences, they're like, here's your bullshit.
Right. Here's your bullshit.
You have to work through this month. Yeah. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I personally do one for myself whenever I run out. I give myself a couple days in between to like
chill. Yeah.
Then, that mental saltine.
Yeah.
And then I move on into the next one. But yeah. So I do that. So people can find that on adamsartwell.com, and also any information about any events I'm doing or classes I'm teaching are all there.
Really interested in the offering of the dream classes. That's such a cool, and can we find information on those dream classes there as well?
Hypnointuitive.com. Yeah.
So cool. So we're going to list all of the links and everything will be listed on the notes for this show, so people could be able to find you. Before we wrap up, I want to just talk a little bit, because I'm a kitchen witch, right? And maybe people don't know this about you, but you're a little kitchen witchy yourself. Okay. We've been talking a lot about all the psychic stuff and the hypnosis stuff. Adam is like the best baker ever, right? You're always making scones and muffins and pies and all the baking. And I'm not much of a baker. I'm okay. But you, sir, such a baker. My goodness. Do you bring in kitchen witchery? Do you do things intentionally, or are you just like, I'm just going to bake this pie right now? Or do you practice kitchen witchery while you're doing those things? I won't be offended if you say that you don't.
It depends on my intent.
Right.
If I you know, I've had moments where financially I wasn't doing well, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make some molasses crinkles
Mm-hmm.
and witch it up because, and I've done this and also fed them to my family. You know,
Yeah.
like, here you
Yeah.
go, have some,
There's
you
some
know, prosperity on me.
prosperity.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, because all of the things in, you know, just from like the, you know, cinnamon, the clove, the nutmeg, all of them are
Prosperity magic.
prosperity
Yep.
herbs. So
Yep.
like I usually magic a cookie, you know, like I'm like, yeah, and then I can eat it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And then you put that
Yeah,
energy into your body,
yeah,
yeah. Pumpkin
and
spice
so
latte, baby.
yeah, yeah. So I have done that. And you know, I'll if you read or look at Tastes of the Temple, which you know,
But
there's a
listen,
spell
listen,
from me in there.
there is in this
Yeah,
book right
it's
here
my
in
baby making banana bread.
Taste from the Temple. Yes, Adam's baby making
Yeah,
banana bread, which is
which
completely different than my banana bread recipe, mind you. So I put
wow.
my banana bread recipe in my new book, in the Kitchen Witch's Guide
Hmm.
to Love and Romance, and it's it's completely different. So I love that because yours is all
Mine's very
it's
simple.
all banana magic. And if you're not sure
Hmm.
what banana magic is, don't make
Yeah,
Adam's
but I
banana
also
bread
try to enchant
recipe
the egg.
if you don't want to have babies. Okay,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Well,
Or double up.
don't do it with intent if you don't want to
Don't
have
do it.
babies.
Yeah, it's still delicious,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
also, just
yeah.
be careful when you're working with kitchen witchery. Okay, just
Yes.
that shit is
Um,
potent.
make sure that you're tailoring your intent to only work with the people who want it, you know,
Yes,
that sort of thing.
yes,
um
so important.
I had, you know, my sister-in-law asked, you know, she didn't ask me, she was like, our intent is to do this, and I was like, can I help in any way? And she's like, of course, you know, if you want to pray, whatever, blah blah blah. I'm like, great. So I of course
Here's banana
made
bread.
banana bread. Yeah, and was like,
Yeah.
here, all of you, both of you should eat this banana bread.
Yes. Yes, you should both eat this banana bread. I taught a
And then I
class.
had, you know,
I
and
taught a
then I had a
class.
nephew.
Then you had a nephew.
Yeah, I have
Oh,
all nephews, not because of the banana bread.
not because of, I mean, maybe.
Maybe, but I mean,
Listen,
there's a lot of banana magic.
bananas a lot of big dick energy. I'm just saying. It is what it is. I mean,
It is.
bananas, zucchini bread is a lot of
Yeah.
big dick energy.
Yeah.
And that's not just about baby making. It's also about confidence. It's about walking into a room, owning yourself and being confident, and maybe doing things that have a traditional masculine connotation to them, and being
Yeah.
able to kind of like, okay, I got
Anything that's
this, or
anything that's projective.
anything that's projective, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So all of those things. So bananas, zucchini, carrot cake, like just
Yeah.
yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, so final question.
Oh goodness.
Final question.
Okay.
And this is the question I ask everybody at the end of the show.
Okay.
If I was to cook a meal for you in my kitchen witchy way, what meal would you want it to be and why? Because then I will come up with the recipe for you and I will put it on the website, and you can make it and I can make it and people can make it. It'll be your recipe, Adam.
Oh my. Wow. I wish you'd asked me before so I could be like all like, boom,
Bam,
here it
here's
is.
the answer.
Yeah. Bam.
Bam. Well, I
Yeah.
know you don't like spaghetti and meatballs, so it can't be that.
No, I do not.
I
I had
know.
growing up, that's what we had. And we had it so much because it was a cheap meal.
Yeah.
It's a cheap meal that you could make for three boys, and
Mm-hmm.
it was super easy, you know? Like, so I always had American chop suey and like,
Anything with ground beef, right? That,
yeah,
yeah.
anything with ground beef or, you know, like, and even my mom would like switch it up a little bit and like
Yeah.
make some other sort of noodly dish. And now, like, I'm like, oh, those noodles.
Even like
Um,
lasagna, like,
I love lasagna. That's true. I do love lasagna. And
because
I
we couldn't be
love,
friends if you didn't love lasagna.
no, I love lasagna. And I do eat, you know, meatballs and spaghetti and all of that. It's not like I'm gonna vomit or whatever, if I ate it. But it's like I, it doesn't excite me. because I had it so much growing up.
So
like,
balls of meat do not excite you, is what you're saying. No, he's
no.
not excited by balls of meat.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
I am very excited by balls of meat. I love them.
Good for you.
I love most food.
You.
Most food that comes in ball form, I enjoy. So if it's a ball of meat, if it's a ball of rice, if it's a ball of cheese, if it's a ball of popcorn, if it's a ball, I'm enjoying it. How many times can I say balls? No. What would you want me to make you? Like, what's your favorite meal, or what's something you don't make for yourself?
Something I don't make myself that I love. The only thing that is coming to me right now, so my mom would make, this is one meal that she would make very rarely.
Yes.
So she would do this sort of like pounded chicken. So she'd pound the chicken,
yeah,
and then roll stuffing inside it.
Stuffing, like stovetop stuffing.
Yeah, and then she'd put some sort of stuff on it, and it was so good. But she doesn't do it anymore because she's like, yeah, I'm in my 70s. I don't want to do that anymore, kind of thing.
What kind of, was it a brown gravy, or was it like a fruity gravy? Do you remember the kind of gravy that was on it?
It was more like brown
gravy.
Not like the gray gravy you get from, like, it wasn't even that juicy. It was like, oh yeah. Yeah, it was more brown, and like it wasn't like, I don't know. And she would put like a toothpick in it.
Yes,
it was hilarious.
Yeah,
like,
so I'm
holding
seeing,
it together.
I'm seeing,
you see what I'm telling you?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Like this pounded chicken cutlet, really, really thin.
Yeah, and sometimes they would have like mushrooms and things like that with it, and yeah, it was so good.
So I'm going to come up with my own version of this.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these like sausage mushroom stuffing rolls with chicken.
Because you love me.
Yeah. Because I love you. And then I'm going to coat them in breadcrumbs and bake them till they're crispy and serve it with a mushroom gravy. Oh. What do you think about that?
That sounds very delicious.
What do you think about that?
That sounds great to me.
I'm gonna invent this recipe for you. I'm gonna invent this recipe for you, and then I'm gonna put it up on my website, and you can make it, and I'll make it, and then we'll Zoom and eat it together. Or it's gonna be so good that I make it for the local news, and then I'll bring you the leftovers. I'm just going to be like a package at your front door, and it's going to be these chicken roly-polies for Adam, and then it's going to be pasta fagioli for Christopher. And now I'm just going to have to know what Steve likes, because can't not bring something for him. But this is this is going to be fun, because most of the time people are like, oh, this is my favorite dish, or that's my favorite dish. I'm like, okay, I'll create my own version of that dish. But this, I kind of have to like kind of invent.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't even have a recipe for it.
Oh, I'm gonna make it. Oh, I'm gonna make it. Ooh, with cornbread stuffing.
Yeah, my mom's more of the like a dash of this, a smidgen, or like, oh, it kind of looks like this when it's done, lady. Yeah. So like I had to learn a lot from like, all right, this is I try out things and then get it exact.
That is the best way. That's the best
everyone raves about my chocolate chip cookies, is because I have perfected it, down to the point where I was like, yes, this is what this is what you have to do. And my mom watching me, she's like, I can't believe you do all this to like make these chocolate chip cookies. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Do you use brown sugar or white sugar, or a combination of the two?
Combination.
And do you use melted butter or softened butter?
Softened butter.
Do you put a smidge of cinnamon?
The big thing that my mom will not do is that you have to add the flour a little bit at a time.
A little bit at a time. Also, your eggs should be room temperature. If you bake with room temperature eggs, everything changes. Everything changes. And I don't really know what the chemistry of that is, but the room temperature eggs, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really know what that is. The room temperature eggs make such a difference. Such a difference. Now, here's your challenge, because you've just bragged that you make the perfect chocolate chip cookies. Now you have to make them gluten-free for me. Sorry.
Yeah, see, I am terrible at the gluten-free part. I do make a great gluten-free cake.
Gluten-free cake is pretty, it's
Yeah,
simpler than you think because cake tends to be like dense and moist, and
yeah.
cookies are harder.
And I make it with chickpeas.
Yes. Chickpea flour.
Yes. It is
Yes.
so dark and rich.
Is it a chocolate? Is it a chocolate
It
cake?
is chocolate, yes.
So
And
great.
and what changed it for me was like the recipe I found or whatever only used like milk chocolate. I was like, I'm
Dark
using
chocolate.
Ghirardelli dark
Fuck
chocolate to make
yes.
this.
Fuck yes. And I'm not much of a chocolate person. Like I'm the person that always take vanilla cake. I know you are. And everybody
Oh
else
my God.
is. Like Justin is a chocolate freak. Like he
Yeah.
wants chocolate for his birthday every year. I make him a chocolate cake filled with chocolate mousse covered in homemade chocolate frosting. And it's a whole fucking cake. And
Yeah.
I can't even eat a bite of it. It makes me sick to my stomach. It's too rich for me.
I just recently had my birthday and my mom
Happy
made me
birthday.
a chocolate cake. This is what I always ask for. I'm like, I want a chocolate cake with peppermint frosting. And
Yes.
in my household, no one eats peppermint. So I get the whole cake to myself.
I do peppermint brownies. So I don't know if you've had them. I brought them for Yule at the temple a couple of times. I don't know if you've had them, but I do like with the Ghirardelli chocolate peppermint brownies. Mind you, peppermint is a money food. Okay. So prosperity magic right there.
And
And
learning.
learn.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Stimulating the mind. Right.
stimulating the mind. Yeah.
Yep. And then of course, chocolate, love, sex, blah, blah, blah. But you
Mhm.
put so you put the mint in the chocolate in the brownie mix. And then on top, I do a peppermint frosting with crushed up candy canes.
Oh.
See, I
See,
can't
I've done it where I baked the brownies to like almost
ooey
done.
gooey. Yeah.
Yeah, and then pull them out, throw some peppermint patties on top, and then put it back in. And then like when it starts to melt a
You
little bit, you
swirl
break it
them.
out and swirl it
Oh,
around.
yes.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God. But
Yes.
that's for me, that's like ultimate Yule, right? Like I make these gluten-free. They're also like veganish. Like you use
Yeah.
coconut oil, and you can use coconut oil instead of butter. I personally
Mhm.
like them better with coconut oil because they're a little softer, but they're
Yeah.
like a very thin, flat, chewy cookie, and they're chocolate and peppermint, and they are just freaking delicious. But for me, see, that's how I need chocolate. Chocolate by itself is too much. I need to cut it with either, you know,
Peppermint,
I
raspberries,
raspberry, something sharp and
strawberry.
strawberry, something that kind of cleanses it. Otherwise, it's too much for me. Like
Mm.
we had friends over the weekend, and I made gluten-free chocolate cupcakes, but the cupcake it's a spiced chocolate. So I did cinnamon and nutmeg and like a pinch of cayenne just to give it a
Mhm.
little oomph. And then I did,
Yes.
and they're delicious. I can eat one. I literally in my refrigerator right now, there's probably, I think I made like 24 cupcakes. We had friends, we all had cupcakes. There's still like 17 cupcakes left in my fridge. And I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, oh, it's too rich. But I could
Yeah.
eat my weight in mashed potatoes. So yeah, that's
Whereas I could eat a couple like a bit of mashed potatoes, but then I'm done.
yeah, you want to eat the whole
So
pie and
yeah.
leave the
Oh,
mashed
I love
potatoes.
pie.
I
I
know you
love
do.
pie.
Raspberry pie is your favorite. I
Raspberry
know.
pie is my
I
favorite,
know.
yes. And
I know.
apparently I have made it good enough that my brother was like, "Oh, wow, you can make the raspberry pie just like mom." I'm like, "Yeah, I can."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I also love rhubarb pie,
Oh my God. Rhubarb
and
pie.
raspberry rhubarb pie is
Oh,
amazing.
really? I've never would thought of putting raspberries and rhubarb
Yes.
together.
Yes.
I'm
So good.
kind of I'm trying to up my pie game. It's difficult with gluten with a gluten
Yeah,
allergy,
it
but
is.
my cousin shared with me a really great gluten-free pie crust recipe that is phenomenal. Phenomenal. You add apple cider vinegar to it, and it
Mhm.
gives it that flakiness that you don't usually get in gluten-free crust, and it's
Yeah.
really really good. And so I've been kind of working through my pie game, and with the holidays coming, Thanksgiving and Yule, I will be going into pumpkin pie baking mode and apple pie baking mode. I got to make 2 or 3 pies between now and, December. So it's going to have to be good. It's going to have to be good. Adam.
I recently got over doing all of the apple pies because my mom and I went to apple orchard and I like got way too many apples. I made 3 pies and still I have apples.
Did you just freeze them or did you just eat them all at once?
Well, I haven't frozen them. I just put them in the refrigerator for now. Like I still have some of those, but I just made pies for like a week. I was like, all right, I'll make you a pie, and then I'll make one for, Christopher's dad. And, So
there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody loves a pie.
No, yeah. And apple pie, I love to, bless with, I call it A-OK apple pie. It's like, everything is fine. You're happy, you're healthy, and apples resonates with that.
That's what apples are. Apples are general blessings and goddess energy and, harmony and all that. I make what I call harmony applesauce. And it's always 5 apples, right? So it's 5 apples for earth, air, fire, water, spirit. And then each apple, as I'm peeling them, I'm doing a mantra. And then it's on the stove with a little cinnamon and a little brown sugar. And that's it. And I'll make that like once a week because Justin loves applesauce. In fact, as you're talking about this, I'm like, shit, I got to make applesauce today because I'm out. But it's very meditative. And it is, the apples have all of those, that great general blessing. I like to call it general blessing. Like, here's all the good juju. It's in the apples, right? So, Adam, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me. I have just really enjoyed this conversation more than I can tell you. It's funny, right? Because we forget how fun other people are. And then we talk to them and we're like, oh my God, I love you so much. So I'm going to come up with this recipe for you. And tell us once again where we can find you online.
Okay. You can find my author and do all of my intuitive psychic stuff on adamsartwell.com. And you can find me if you want to do hypnosis for quitting smoking, weight loss. I'm recently getting into more working with artists on being confident.
Such a cool thing.
Yeah, so that is I'm in the research phase, which is great. And you can find that at hypnointuitive.com.
Hypnointuitive.com, adamsartwell.com. And is there a Facebook or an Instagram where people can follow you as well?
Yes, there is a Facebook page for both my author stuff and my, intuitive hypnosis stuff. So I'm sure you'll list it.
I will list it because you can't think about it right now, but I will make sure that all of those links are listed. And we can also contact you through the Temple of Witchcraft as well. There's a million ways to get in touch with Adam, see what he's doing, and stay current with all of his offerings for hypnosis and intuitive work. Adam, thank you a bazillion times for being here. I hope you had as much fun as I did. I'm going to make this recipe for you, and I challenge you to make chocolate chip cookies for me. Just putting that out there. Okay. I heart you big time. And thank you a million times for being here. And until next time, everyone, I wish you many blessings and so much gratitude. Thanks so much, guys.